everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, March the 1st. Race number 6 at Gulfstream Park. We're going 5/8 of a mile on the turf. First level allowance race with a $75,000 claiming option, 3-year-old fillies. Let's take a look at this field. 3-1 on the number 9. That's Sassy Nature. And Sassy Nature has done some good things in Southern California. She's shipping all the way across the country to Gulfstream, Mike, however, and this is going to be her first start on turf. So you're going to take a short price on a filly that's never done this before.
Yeah, maybe not the wisest thing to do to take any kind of really short price on her, Dad. That being said, she's really fast. She was pretty impressive breaking her maiden on dirt 2 starts back with a fast figure, and she's got plenty of turf in her pedigree.
Taking a look at the Timeform US pace projector, Sassy Nature brings California speed. We see she's expected to clear to the lead in a red bar fast-paced scenario. But there's a horse down to the inside, Mike, that could potentially be the key to this race, and that's the number 1, Whatchamacall. She's been on the lead in her last 3 races, and she might keep Sassy Nature occupied enough that it could soften both up for maybe a stalker.
Yeah, she's pretty fast down on the rail. Whatchamacall, she already has a win on the turf too, although that was against weaker horses. But I guess it's a little bit of a feather in her cap. And there were a couple of other horses in here as well who have speed, but like the 9, they're surface switchers.
Whatchamacall, the number 1, did win her only start on turf, but as Mike mentioned, against weaker company. Not only was it a $25,000 maiden claimer, but it was at the Meadowlands where the competition is kind of weak. She did win over a synthetic surface for 75 2 starts back, and last time out over the Gulfstream Tapeta, she went to the front and she probably went just a little bit too fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. The winner of that race was pretty good also, Dan. That horse is now 3 for 3 undefeated. This horse, did take some pressure up on the lead last time. She was pressed by the longest shot on the board in there. But she did take some pressure, couldn't get away, and just got tired at the end of the race. I feel like, and maybe she's just improved in her last 2 starts, and I feel like if you're going to judge her off the lone turf race, she's pretty hard to like in here. I know she won that race really easily, but she just never faced a challenge that day on an easy pace against a field that was just terrible. I believe all 7 horses that finished behind her are still maidens, over 5 months later. I don't know, man. I couldn't get behind this horse in this race.
Now, the number 2, She's Spiteful. Her only win came on Tapeta, and her only turf running line looks pretty bad. But I think it's a little bit too early to say she can't step on the turf because that turf race was around 2 turns, and she might just be a better sprinter. She put it all together last time out. First time Lasix in a $50,000 claiming race, maiden optional over the Tapeta surface. And She's Spiteful, you see, is down inside. She's trying to look for a seam down towards the rail, and she's going to get up in here. She shows a lot of grit, Mike, because she had to steady off heels at a key juncture, got outside in between horses, and despite flopping leads a couple of times, grinds it out.
Yeah, I thought she ran pretty well in here. Overall, the trip was really good. But you did see her try to look up the rail there in the upper stretch, and the leader just didn't open it up for her. So she had to wait a little bit, but she still got clear in time. One, I would say, easier than the final margin suggests that she actually did. I thought her prior start was just okay, Dan. She ran a little better last time. The turf race, I just don't feel like you're supposed to hold it against her. 2-turn mile against a good field where she took pressure on the lead all the way. I would give her a pass for that one.
The number 3, Arella Star, is getting massive class relief. In her last 2 races, she's been in against stakes competition, last time out in the Grade 2 Forward Gal, where she showed high speed on the main track. She'll try turf for the first time. She's by Nyquist, who surprisingly gets 15% winners from his turf sprinters, but the dam was unraced on turf. She's foaled 2 runners to try the surface with no success.
Yeah, I didn't love this horse's pedigree. I get the stats look okay with Nyquist. I don't really love the Nyquist as turf horses. This is a horse, though, who, last 2 dirt starts against non-stakes companies, she won both of them and ran pretty well both times. So I think she does have some talent. I like that Saez has taken over here. I just didn't really love her pedigree for turf, but I guess she's a big price if you want to take a shot.
Another horse trying the lawn for the first time is the number 4, Condescending. Paco Lopez takes the mount on the lone three-time winner in this field, and she's coming off a useful performance in her synthetic debut last time out. Now, this race is only a $16,000 claimer. Condescending cleared off to an uncontested lead on the backstretch. She's going to get a little bit tired and finish second. She's by exaggerator, only 3% winners from turf sprinters, while the third dam was multiple grade 3 winner on the turf. There's not a lot of turf close up in this family.
Yeah, I didn't see enough turf pedigree to make me feel like it's going to be a complete turnaround here for her in her turf debut, Dan, and I would never bet her off of her form on the other surfaces.
Alternate Risk is winless on turf, but she was second in a stakes race at Monmouth last summer as a 2-year-old. She's coming off of a useful victory against Florida-bred first-level allowance horses on the Tapeta. Here's that race back on January the 26th, where she sat in the second flight. It was a pretty good trip. She got to the outside here, and she's got to work. She's pretty game to win, and she earned a very respectable 76 buyer.
I like this performance. She took a really strong challenge here from the runner-up and is going to manage to fight this horse off and win. I thought this was a good win for her. I thought she ran really well when she broke her maiden on dirt, and I feel like she ran fine in her turf debut in that Colleen at Monmouth last summer, Dan. So she just feels like a really versatile kind of horse with a really nice running style, especially in this race. If other horses are going to be able to go with that morning line favorite early, this horse could be in a perfect spot as this field turns into the stretch.
The number 6, One of One, is hoping our Timeform US pace projector is correct and that this pace is fast, because she likes to come from out of it, as she did in her most recent race, finishing second in an open one other than over the synthetic surface. Let's take a look at One of One. This pace seemed to be fast, and I think One of One, of the horses coming out of this race, benefited the most.
I do too. She got a really good trip in this race, and she's just, unfortunately for her, just not going to be a real match for the winner who is taking over late in this race. Again, that winner is now 3 for 3 and looks like a pretty good horse, but she does get second in there. I thought she ran fine, but I thought she took advantage a little bit. Didn't think she ran quite as well 2 starts back then. And I do think synthetic is probably her best surface, but even 2 starts back when she was contesting the pace, I mean, I guess she ran fine in there, but that horse that won the race just steamrolled her through the stretch. And I'm not sure that horse is very good.
The only time she ran on turf was a 2-turn race without Lasix. Maybe she'll do better sprinting on the grass. The 7 is Beatiful Carla. This is another filly getting a little bit of class relief. She's raced in stakes company in her last 2. She's trying turf for the first time. Limited positive statistics for the sire, Ransom the Moon. 15% winners with turf sprinters with a very limited sample. 1 turf winner. The dam is foaled from 2 runners. Gets blinkers in here, Mike. Another horse that's shown a little bit of speed. I'm taking a wait and see approach, but she's likely going to be a good price, and she's faced some decent horses.
Yeah, I'll agree with all that stuff. That I don't really have a lot to add to it. I couldn't quite get there with her, but I won't be surprised if she runs well, as opposed to some of the other horses we've already talked about. She's got a little bit of pedigree. I mean, she's not like hugely bred for turf, but there's a little pedigree there. She certainly has class in that pedigree for sure. She'll put blinkers on. I mean, I feel like I could make a case for her if I really wanted to, but ultimately I went in a different direction.
The third place finisher from her most recent start did come back to place at Turfway over the poly track in a first level allowance with a 67 buyer. Vibella is up next, and I thought Vibella ran okay to be third. That was the One of One video that we showed you before. Considering that she was turning back from a 2-turn race, the fact that she was able to stay close to a solid pace, I'm willing to give her extra points for that. And then she was able to still run on a little bit at the end. She's run well around 2 turns, but I think she's at her best as a late running sprinter, and she might get a setup here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with all that stuff. I thought she ran fine last time. I didn't think she had some kind of big excuse, but it wasn't a poor performance. And you're right, cutting back from 7.5 to 5 isn't that easy. I liked her win on turf 2 starts back. I thought she got a good trip in that race, but I thought she ran well also. And even the Wait a While stakes, I mean, ultimately she faded to the back of the pack there. But man, she did a lot of hard work up on the pace that day before they just swamped her through the stretch. But she actually ran okay that day also.
And here's the key to the race. The 9, Sassy Nature, trying turf for the first time. First time Jack Sisterson. After making her first 3 starts in Southern California, she was a blowout winner. 2 back. Then they tried the boys last time out. She was odds on that day. She showed high speed and tired. She's by Straight Fire, a very young stallion that has done pretty well from a limited sample of turf sprinters. But the Dam was a stakes winner on turf going a mile. She has foaled 1 winner on the grass. And this is a very classy female family. The Dam's a half-sister to the graded stakes winner American Theorem.
Yeah, exactly. A half-sister to a couple of graded stakes winners, actually. She's also a half-sister to Cyclogenesis, who's a really good turf sprinter. So there's just a lot of pedigree here as opposed to some of the other surface switchers. This one's bred to handle it and has already run really, really well on dirt. I mean, I thought anyway, she was super impressive breaking her maiden in fast time. If she can transfer that kind of form over to the turf course, Dan, she's going to be really hard to beat.
Completing this field is the number 10, Sure Can, who has surely improved since switching to turf and getting Lasix for trainer Brian Lynch. Let's watch her maiden victory. Last time out over course and distance. Now, this pace wasn't very fast. They went the half in almost 45 seconds. She got right up close to the leader. I will give her some credit. She sprints for home. She had to make up about a length and a half. She does it willingly to win. 3 horses have come out of this race. None have hit the board. The best buyer of 47. Class hike, but also a pace hike as well. They got to be going faster early than the fractions of that race.
Yeah, I think they will be. She did run well last time. I don't want to really take anything away from her. Did what she had to do there to gun down a horse who had a clear lead on her. It's worth pointing out, at least, Dan, that the second and third finishers of that race, so I actually thought both of them ran well also. They were both first-time starters. So she had a little bit of an advantage there. And it's also, listen, 2 starts back when she finished second in her turf debut, she was best that day. When you go back and watch the replay of that, I mean, her rider just made a huge mistake there and conceded the lead, and this filly got shuffled back and then came too late. But she's run well in both of her turf starts. I can see her being pretty tough in this race, but I think this race is tougher than either of the first 2 turf races she ran in.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for our Wednesday DRF race of the day. It's at Gulfstream Park. Mike, you're going with Sassy Nature. She's shown speed. She's shown ability in California. You like to be up front in these races, sometimes no matter how fast they're going, at 5/8 at Gulfstream Park, and she's got enough turf pedigree.
Yeah, there was enough turf pedigree for me to take her. We'll see. I wouldn't go too short on her as far as wagering goes, Dan, but I feel like this is a pretty good spot. There are several surface switchers in here, and of those, she's the only one that I would really want. And, to me, the 8 just has the best turf form in the race, so she would be the other horse for me. We'll see how they bet it.
I'm curious to see how Alternate Rock does switching back to turf. I think she's run okay on turf in the past. For me, I think she has enough tactical speed where she can sit in the second flight if the 1 and the 9 get hooked up in a duel, and maybe she'd be the direct beneficiary at a somewhat decent price. 9, 8, 10, 5 for Mike, 5, 1, 9, 10 for me. It's Wednesday's DRF race of the day. It's the 6th at Gulfstream Park. Good luck.